Hey, it's Emma Romano here, founder of the Thrive and Life Foundation, self-healing coach, and the midwife to your personal alchemy.
I am 𝘽𝙙𝙙𝙞𝙘𝙩𝙚𝙚, founder of the Heaven Within Foundation, CEO of Lifestyle Finance Australia, finance expert, life and business coach.
And you are listening to Inspired Conversations,
where we talk about the things that really matter. Yes, we go there.
We share together what's exciting us, inspiring us, and having the most profound impact on our lives and our clients' lives. And we do this to elevate and inspire you.
We cover it all from life, body, love, relationships, trauma healing, addictions, business, money, and all things woo-woo.
So sit back, relax,
and get ready to be inspired and laugh the fuck out loud.
Woo! Welcome. This is Emma Romano and the delicious and delectable and delightful
𝘽𝙙𝙙𝙞𝙘𝙩𝙚𝙚, and you are listening to Inspired
Conversations.
And I think we're up to something like episode 17 or 18, maybe even 19, somewhere around there.
This is what we're up to. We're up to episode... That's what we're up to. I don't know.
And today we are talking about an edgy topic, and it is, with a drum roll,
are you addicted to being fucked up?
Oh.
This is a huge one, right? So we have this weird bullshit thing as humans of being addicted to a pain because we are getting something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you an example, right? So in 2014, most of you know I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. In fact, I was diagnosed with 3 to 4 things within a month. So one was optic neuritis, which is damage to the optic nerve from the brain to the eye. Then it was multiple sclerosis. It was celiac and chronic fatigue, all within 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was really terrifying. And I didn't really want to let it go. How weird is that? I actually didn't want to let it go. Especially at the beginning, I was really quite rapt about having it. And I would do the normal thing. I wasn't aware of it, but I would cry and, I'll be so scared. And then, I really delved into healing myself. And I healed the MS, I healed the chronic fatigue, and I healed everything. But guess what stayed? Was the optic neuritis. Now, why? Why couldn't I heal the sight in my eye? Because I was getting a massive secondary gain out of it.
What was it?
I got sympathy.
Huh.
I got people doing things for me. Plus, I didn't have to play tennis anymore. I couldn't do roller derby anymore because I had no depth conception. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to play netball anymore because, to be honest, I did a lot of those things to give me praise from people outside of myself. I did a lot of things that would give me praise for people to go, Emma's really great. She's a tennis coach. She plays tennis. She does roller derby. She does this. She does that. I didn't really enjoy it. So the optic neuritis actually gave me an excuse and a really huge valid reason not to do all these things that I thought I had to do for other people. So I kept it. I kept it for about 2 years until, I figured out I can just tell myself and people that I don't need an excuse, one, to change my mind.
Oh, there's the fawning. Yep.
I don't need an excuse or a reason to say I'm done with that. I finished with it, because I was always brought up that if you do something, you have to do it forever.
Oh, yeah.
Job, you're in that job. I mean, I was a tennis coach for, ready for it? 31 years.
Wow.
Started when I was 16. 1 year I was a tennis coach. Out in 40-degree heat or -2, didn't matter. I coached.
Wow.
So
it's that baby boomer work ethic, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to sit there and say to my mum, thanks so much for my work ethic. Now I'm like, oh, fuck. I really wish I didn't have that work ethic.
And it's also a great flight defense mechanism. Let me pour all of my energy into this so I don't have to feel anything.
100%. So, I mean, I've got secondary gains now about things. You know, and so I'm really looking into what kind of things am I addicted to at the moment? Is it shame? Is it, you know, I still really can't fall in love with my body. I'm so much better, but why can't I fall in love with my body? What's the secondary gain? I can tell you straight up. I can sit there and look at my body and go, oh, I don't know, I think my thighs or my bum's too big. And then my husband's like, baby, you are a sexy, hot-ass wife. There's my secondary gain. Now, I know my husband, it wouldn't matter if I said I was fat, ugly, or hot. He's still going to constantly tell me that I'm a hot-ass wife. That's just the way he is, right? But there's some kind of pity party or some kind of chemical. There is some secondary gain that I'm getting. Why can't I just go, I love my cellulite. I love my big ass. I love my thighs. I love all of it. Why can't I? Because I'm getting some kind of secondary fucking gain to be in shame. Shame around it. It's nuts. So we are addicted. So you can look, anyone who's got anxiety, depression, and this is a big one. People who constantly go into shitty freaking relationships with others, with themselves. What are you gaining? What secondary gain is feeding this wounded ego? And there's a big one, and I'm going to say it out loud. People love being the underdog.
That's the whole Australian culture. You just called out the whole country.
100%. We fucking love, we get off on it, on being the struggling Aussie battler, the underdog. And we have such shame, and we will downplay what we've achieved. You know, it's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you think we're downplaying? Because, well, if we're going to talk about Australian culture now, if we're looking at the underdog, which is the Aussie battler, like if you think from the days that we went and stormed beaches of Gallipoli, like this is where we kind of like got that from a cultural perspective, like the Aussie battler, like we're through and through, even the way that this country was created. Then we also have, what's really interesting in that is the tall poppy syndrome that goes with it as well.
Yeah, so for those who don't know what the tall poppy syndrome is, Australians are known for it. So are the English. So if you're doing very well, like, you know, you'll get celebrities and things like that, and people will love them. And
they'll love them up to the underdog until when they get to a certain level, and then
they're pulled out, right? So tall poppy syndrome is, we'll literally cut the poppies down, right? So you could be doing very, very well, and then you get people go, oh no, you know, they're an overnight success, it didn't even work out, you know, oh, it was given to them. It was all given to them on a platter. So we're pulling them down. The Americans don't do it.
Like, completely different. I'll tell you how great I am, beat their chest. And
yes, and I love that. I fucking love that. You know, and we need to take a little, you know, we need to take a page out of their book, I believe. You know, we don't need to be egotistical about it, but we should be sitting there going, you know what? I've worked, I've worked. I've gone through so many ups and downs. I'm still here. Isn't that enough? Mm-hmm. You know, and go me. And not have to have the excuse to go, oh, I've got depression, or I've got anxiety, oh, I've got this, oh, I've got that. for somebody outside of ourselves to validate ourselves? Why can't we sit there and validate who we are naturally? It's huge stuff, isn't it?
It's huge. Like, I literally, this conversation sort of sparked off because I know that you've been doing the work with Yvette Rose, and I literally just finished a training talking about shame. And I was like, wow, shame identity. We're literally just having this conversation in separate spaces. And it's really interesting, the shame identity itself and how it creates our own inner critic. And for those of you who are like, what are you talking about? Here's the best way to describe it. Shame is when you think there is something wrong with you. So anytime that you have felt not worthy, not good enough, not lovable, embarrassed, disgust, mistrust, distrust, like self-mistrust, anything where you have felt all that voice has come up when you've gone to do something and the voice goes, who are you to do that? Or you're not good enough for that, or you're totally out of your league. It's that inner critic that's being created inside of you that gives you all the reasons and all the excuses in the world why there is something wrong with you. And there's a big difference between shame and guilt. Guilt being that you feel bad about your behavior and you've done something wrong, and it's a pretty easy correction because you can have a conversation with someone and usually you can create greater connection with it if you have a really good apology and understanding and a behavior correction. Guilt, I did bad behavior. Shame, though, shame is when we're not living up to some kind of internalized standard we hold for ourselves. And when we don't do that, or somebody else reflects upon us a cognitive dissonance, meaning where we are is different to how we view ourselves, or we feel that psychological pain, that's the shame. And that is the thing that is plaguing us. Like, I can't even begin to use big enough words to show the gravity of how big this is and how it affects us from being our truest, most authentic expression of self. And what happens, this shame identity is usually created when we're little because we've had one or more of our bigger caregivers that have said whether depending upon what was going on for them in their world, we've had an experience and they've told us off. And as a little kid, we look at the big people, our caregivers, and we're like, well, they can't be wrong because they're taking care of us. So if they're not wrong, regardless of what they're doing, even if it is wrong, we internalize that and make it mean that we are wrong. So anytime that we hear feedback, criticism, or go to step outside of our comfort zone, the voice that we're hearing, that shame voice, is that bigger caregiver inside of us that's telling us all these different things that we have made mean that we need to be at this level to be worthy, lovable, and enough. So when we start looking at this and looking at this shame identity in relation to what Em's saying, like, why are we addicted to being fucked up? Because if we've set such high internalized standards for where we need to be enough, worthy, and lovable, yet we find these other ways to get those needs met, like with what you were saying, Em, with the optus neuritis. So instead of you having to go out and being an absolute fucking champion at tennis for 30-something years and roller derby and netball, and people saying, wow, Emma is so amazing, and her having to do so much effort to get the validation from the external to say, you are now worthy, you are now lovable, you are now validated, why not create a physical ailment that means, I can take a fucking break and people are going to show me like this is a new way to meet the need of connection, because people are going to be helping you more instead of you having to do all this helping. And your need for significance is going to get met off the charts because all of a sudden everybody's focus is going to be on helping Emma and healing Emma. So she doesn't have to go out and do all of these things to be seen. And then she's also going to have her need for certainty met because she knows as long as that she's got this going on, people are going to help her. And this isn't just for in this situation with Em, but we do this across the board.
Across the board. And you know what's crazy? It's like, during that time, I also want to let people know that I experienced deep, deep depression. Deep depression and very heightened anxiety. So I was playing the two, It'd be depressed and then it'd go into anxiety, depression going in. So it was just, I was on this cycle. And I look back And I think of the secondary gain for that was I had all the reasons and excuses set up to shift me out of being an athlete without having to go, no, I'm just choosing not to do it. And then having to hear all the reasons why I shouldn't be choosing not to do it, which then is rejection, because that's basically what I was running away from. I didn't want rejection. I didn't want to be told I was wrong or that I should be doing this and could be doing that. And you know what I invite people to do? The hardest thing, but the most beneficial thing you can do for yourself right now is this. Don't go into the shame of looking at your secondary gain around your ailment. Really go, thanks shame, you just go over the side there. Let's have a fucking look at this. Because once you find because you won't know your secondary gain, it won't be like, it's not a conscious decision. Oh, fuck, let's get MS. Oh, let's get depression and anxiety. It's not a conscious decision. You haven't just decided one day. Your unconscious has. Your pain body has created it. Excuse me. And it can also very much likely be an ancestral DNA soul copy. So it may not even be yours. But go past the shame of going, where am I getting this gain from? What is my gain? What is my gain to holding PTSD? What's my gain to this? What's my gain to having social anxiety? What's my gain to being fear? What's my gain? Find out what your gain is. Because that is empowerment in itself. And you are literally, once you're aware of your own programs and patterns, that's when you're already 50% healed of it. 50% awareness is everything. That's when you're living consciously, not unconsciously, where, literally 99% of the freaking population is living unconsciously. We're letting life guide us. We're not guiding life. And most of those people who letting life take them lack two things. One, they lack a desire. They're too scared to have a desire. And the second part is they're too honed in on their expectation of how they should live. So expectation is, I'll give you an example of expectation for those listening. If I have, say, a desire to be really healthy, my expectation will be controlling that. So I'm going to run 5 kilometers a day. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. It's like I have a desire to be really wealthy. The expectation is this. I'm going to do it this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And that's how you fuck shit up.
And by this time, and it's going to be this amount.
Yes. You fuck shit up. Don't do that. Don't fuck shit up, because that is now feeding into that secondary gain of I must fail. I must be this or I must be that. You're going to prove the bullshit prophecy of I'm not enough. When we let it go and just go into the desire, we remove the shame. I desire this. How it happens, let God figure that out. And just show up. But I do invite you, just quietly one day, those listening, if you dare, because I'm telling you now, Kelly and I do this all the time. This is the hard part. Don't you reckon? Like, this is the hard part of looking at yourself and going, why am I keeping that? Why am I doing that? Like, what's going on with the social anxiety? Like, what is going on with why, I mean, I'm a relationship therapist, and most women don't want to have sex with their partner. Why not? Why? Why don't you? What's the secondary gain of saying no, 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 no? And then you can look at, what if you were to have sex with your partner? What are you terrified about? And most people will say, I don't think I'm supposed to like it so much.
Oh, wow.
So it just keeps going in a circle, 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 circle. It's incredible. But yes, so Kelly was just saying, I have been doing a lot of work with this incredible woman called Yvette Rose. So I fucked off to Bali. I did a week. It's called Reveal the Woman Within. Oh my God, phenomenal. And I decided to learn her program. So I'm doing 3 of her programs, Mat 1, Mat 2, and this other one about, I can't remember it, but I've signed up to literally everything, right? I'm just like soaking it in. And she's talking about secondary gains, and it's blowing my mind. And I love that we can sit here and share this with you guys.
So do you have a frame? Because when I'm looking at this, there's a specific framework that I use to really sort of like get to the heart of it and sort of like edge in without the unconscious mind realizing what you're about to do. Do you have a process too? Or
Okay, I'm a bit balls and all, right? So I literally sit there. There's a couple of things I do. First, that's number 1. I ask myself permission. Emma, do you give yourself permission consciously and unconsciously and at a soul level to figure out the shit that you need to let go of today? And I either get a resounding yes, or I get a, oh, Dulls, not today. We're a bit fragile. So I'll park it. And all that. So permission is everything. You always have to ask permission. Ask your body permission. Are you okay today? Are you okay to go through this today?
Yeah.
And you'll get a resounding yes, or you can use a pendulum. You can use whatever you want. You'll feel it. You'll feel it. And then I'll sit and I go, right, let's do this. And then I call in my beautiful guides. And for me, I love working with Sanan, Mary, Kuan Yin, you know, all the girls, all the ladies.
Yeah, the ladies.
All the ladies. Because they can hold me. I'm like, and they've been through it. I love working with ascended masters a lot because, one, they understand, they've been on earth.
Yeah.
And they've ascended.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they understand what we're going through. So if you talk to angels, they don't get it. They're like, but we don't feel, we can't smell, we can't taste, we don't know what that is. They're great support, but they don't get it. They don't understand us. Whereas Mary, Sanan, you know, Magdalena, they get it. So I asked them, I go,
1,000 miles in our shoes, probably 1,000 incarnations in our bodies.
Exactly. And you know what? I know it's going off the beaten track a bit, but the ascended masters are in massive awe of us people on earth because, you know, they did a lot of work here on earth and then they went, nah, I'm tapped out. Look, it's too hard. I'm tapping out. I'm going to look after everybody on earth. And so they get to do that. We're the people who've gone, let's keep coming back. Let's keep coming back. Let's keep coming back. Let's make this earth better. Let's make this earth better. And that's why Kelly and I do this work as well. You know, so what my whole process is, I ask the body, the conscious, the unconscious, at a soul level, energy level as well, am I ready to do this right now? I call in all my big guns. I've been really working with Isis a lot lately too. I call in Isis, beautiful dragon clans. I go, right, let's do this. And my first request is this. Please be really gentle with me. And make it really obvious. I think people forget that when they're calling in a prayer. They go, oh, help me, you know, shift through this. No, make it really quick. Do it with ease and grace and make it really super obvious of what my fucked upness is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't want to be here for half an hour. I want in and out. I'm like, I've got shit to do, right? Mm-hmm. I've got washing to put on. I've got people to heal. Do you get me? Like, I'm a busy woman. So let's do this now and just make it really like, oh, that's cool. I don't want this, oh my God, I've been living like this for 51 years, you idiot. I don't want to shame myself about it. My intention is to go in there, find it and go, oh, that's really cool that I did that I've been doing that, because now that I'm aware of it, I can shift it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm loving this so far. Keep going.
That's my process. I put some cool ass music on. I've got these beautiful crystal sound healing bowls. I'll just play, I'll tinker, and then next thing, bang. I'll look at where I'm fucked. Like I'll sit there and go, well, for instance, I've always wanted to make $4 million in a year. I've got to $1 million, but why can't I make $4 million? It's a secondary gain not to make $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of shame around making $4 million too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no one in my family has made $4 million. So mine is, will people disconnect from me if I make $4 million? It's a rejection.
Mm-hmm.
There's my rejection. And then I go, right, now I get it. And then I say this to myself, excuse me, is that problem mine or somebody else's? And I go, well, rejection is not my problem. It's definitely somebody else's. I go, oh, it's outside of me, actually. It's probably my DNA, you know, I've picked up the belief system from my mum, my grandmother, whoever. So it's not mine. And then I can ask myself this, which I love the Katie Byron work. No, Byron Katie, isn't it? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, you find your problem. I'm going to be rejected if I make $4 million a year. Is it true? Well, I don't really know. So I can't prove it. And I go to myself, Emma, can you prove it's going to be true? No, I can't. So it's not true then. No, it's not. Well, can we fuck that off then? Yep, we can definitely get rid of that problem then.
Yeah, it's really powerful, that one. I like that. I love the playing that. Is that really true game?
Yeah.
Particularly when there's like big normalizations on always and every time and everyone. It's like, well.
Yeah, is it true?
Every time?
Yeah.
Everyone?
Exactly.
Yeah. I also I really love a couple of permission frames that you shared with that. Like, am I ready? Like, that's such an important thing, because particularly going down the rabbit hole of personal development, you can easily get addicted to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Like, it's part of that flight defense mechanism. Well, if I'm not going to be doing those things anymore, now what can I pour my energy into? So one, actually asking, am I ready on all levels, willing and able, capable of doing this today? Epic. And then I really like be gentle with me and be really clear and direct. Like, don't ask that question. Going to start asking that question, 100%. And the other part, like when I go into this, like in addition to what you shared, like I also like to look at, like you mentioned this, but like get really clear on like, how is this a problem for me? How is this thing affecting me? Because when I can get really clear on what the problem is and how this is a problem for me, then I'm like, right, I see the landscape. I can see the architecture of this, and I can see where it's infiltrated in all the different areas of my life. Okay, great. Now, the next question I ask myself, and I know that you'll love this one too, Em, being like, the unconscious mind doesn't like anything taken away from it unless it's going to be given something better. And if you don't give it something better, it's going to fill it full of the old shit again.
Yes.
So I always ask myself the question, if that wasn't there, what would be available in its place? And this is where you get to create all of the things that you want. Like, if you were to sit back and have that desire, and for those of you, like, for having desires, for those of you that it's new to and you're like, well, I don't know what I want, and then like you get to play here, like even if it's I don't want XYZ, and I was like, well, okay, well, if you didn't have that, what would you have? And then you started building that muscle of around desire and asking for what you want and creating what you want and making sure that it's framed in positive, because this is telling the unconscious mind, this is filling that gap that you're just about to create in resolving the problem, like feeling it really strongly with all the things that you want. And then the next part of that I like to go into is, what's it costing me? So getting a little bit of that pain leverage, like what is it costing me by sitting in this problem? And then get all the things. And then I go into the secondary gain question. And then that's when I'm like, okay, well, if this is all the fucking chaos and shit it's causing me, what am I getting out of this? What is the secondary gain? Like I was literally just sharing with you, I think, was it here? Like for me around shame, there's a few, I didn't realize that for me holding on to shame, I was using it as a secondary gain to hold me accountable to being the best version of myself, to continue to like make me be and behave a certain way so I would then be worthy of love. And that, to make sure that I'm staying on track, because in the past, if I haven't had if I'm a bit loosey-goosey and what I would say overly compassionate with myself, I can get like a bit like, I'll just see how far I can push that. So for me, I was like, wow, I didn't realize. And because April last year was when I made like some really big life decisions and changed so much of how I was living, I didn't realize I was using shame to hold me accountable.
Oh, so big, isn't it?
Not
How
right.
empowering though, when you can look at yourself. There's just something coming to my mind, and I know, a lot of people will take their children to see psychiatrists, psychologists, and counselors, and that's great. But can you please ask the therapist, instead of focusing on the child's trauma, focusing on the child's secondary gain to keep the trauma? And that's with anything and everything. There will be some secondary gain, and why I'm going this way, I just feel so compelled to say it. I see a lot of children, a lot of parents say, can you fix my child? And I say, give me you first. Because the child is a product of the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I'll see the parents first, then I'll see the child and I go, why do you continue to have the problem? And they will tell me straight up, it's to stop mummy and daddy fighting, or it's to stop mummy and mummy fighting, or it's to stop, daddy distracts himself from drinking if he's focused on me. There's always a secondary gain. Consistently. The trauma itself, you don't need to know about the trauma itself. You don't need to keep visiting it. And that's kind of the issue why a lot of people stay stuck in their pain point, because they're constantly focusing on an event. If you keep focusing on an event or trying to find an event to find the root cause of the problem, you'll fuck it up. Go into the secondary gain of why you're actually holding on to the problem. That is where you'll get the blessing and the change. And if you find that you go, I don't want to look at the secondary gain, it's because the problem's working for you really fucking well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that you might want to visit, only if you're allowing yourself to do it. Or you can sit here and go, Em Kel, you're full of shit. I'm never going to listen to these bitches again. And that's cool. We're good. We're fine. But give yourself permission to fucking be sovereign, Give yourselves permission to go, hang on, I get to choose how I do this life. Because you do.
Mm-hmm.
You 100% do. And you know what? From our hearts to yours, to listening or watching this, you fucking deserve the world. You deserve all the riches, all the wealth, all the love, all the joy, the creativity, the ease and grace that you were born into. You deserve all of what this world offers you. Start fucking believing it. Stop paying the pity party. Because also, when you keep playing the pity party, you get fucking exhausting to other people. It gets really hard work of someone constantly trying to tell you that you're fabulous. So one of the biggest things that I find, especially with clients who feel lonely, why is that a secondary gain? Because it is feeding the belief system. It is safe for one to be on your own. Mm-hmm. I find with clients, they go, oh, it's safer to be on my own. Well, there's your secondary gain. Mm-hmm. You're lonely because, and people will naturally gravitate. I go, people will leave you quickly, won't they? And they go, yeah, it's about a month, 2 months. And I say to them, how much hard work are you? Would you be your friend? Or are you so addicted to being fucked up that you just push people away? It's a big, one of the greatest things we can do for ourselves in self-growth and to learn to love ourselves and find our programs is to ask ourselves really strong questions that you don't want to be fucking asked. Do you get me? You got to ask yourself, why am I not? Why don't I have people around me? What is my behavior? Because it's never anybody else's. It's never anyone else. It's always us. Why isn't that person calling me? Why isn't that person inviting me? Why doesn't that person want to be with me? Do you get me?
Yeah.
It's huge. This is a massive topic, Kel, isn't it?
And if you're all still scratching your head about I don't know why I'm holding on to this, there's one question, and I call this the big guns, that I like to ask. And the first time you hear it, it's going to like scramble your brain a bit. You're going to be like, what? And then ask it again. And then you just listen to that quiet thing that comes up, and it's usually you want to push it away, but that's the thing. And the question is, what are you pretending not to know that if you were to know right now would allow you to easily and effortlessly make this change?
Love that's an NLP one. I love that. I love that. I love it.
Yeah. And that one, it is an NLP one, but it's such a good one, because if you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Because sometimes, like as Em said, if you've got a problem going on, and again, every human behavior stems from a positive intention. Otherwise, we just wouldn't do it. Like it might start off as, I'm going to use your example of optic neuritis. I want to break and I want to have people help me and I want to receive love. Body goes beauty. Let's like that internalized pain that you've had. We're going to stick that in your eye and we're going to sit you on your ass and watch everybody come and give you love and help you and give you significance. Like those needs are going to get met off the charts. So, and you're like, why would I be doing this? It doesn't make any sense. I'm in pain. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? When you ask that question, what am I pretending not to know that if I were to know right now would allow me to easily and effortlessly make this change? It's quiet for a moment. Boom, it comes up. Like I was literally had this conversation and it was around like an OCD compulsion. And I asked this question. And the thing that came up is I am in control.
Yeah, because control is safety.
Yeah.
But it's not really.
Not really, but it was one of those like, because when you're sometimes, because the ego is always going to want to protect itself. It wants to survive. And it's been keeping you alive all this time and having you survive. It got you here. It may not be as effective as you would like it to be, but it's done a pretty damn good job to get you here to be listening to us talking right now. Yeah. And so when you ask that question, it bypasses the ego. It confuses it for a moment and the unconscious mind goes, boop, there it is. So it's a really powerful question. Use with care. Do not ask yourself that question unless you're ready and willing and able to hear the answer and then take action on it, because it is
100%.
It's the kind of thing that you ask and it wakes you up with like a bolt of lightning at 3 a.m. and you go, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, I can't ignore that anymore.
And you know what? It's okay to look at our fucked upness because there's power in it. You can either live like it for another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years holding on to your fucked upness, or you can go on your little like shame pile for 10 minutes and go, oh. And then you can choose to end it or find a different way. So for me, I asked myself a question: if I wasn't doing that to receive that, in other words, if I wasn't doing optic neuritis to receive connection, love, and care, what else could I be doing to receive love, care? And that's when I went, I'm going to be brave enough to be me. And that's when I stepped into doing this kind of work. Because, I mean, I get a lot of connection, love, but it's such a much cleaner way of receiving it, you know, than being sick or being full of depression or anxiety. And I got to tell you, everyone who's listening, the body heals. The body heals. And when you look into your secondary gain around being ill, that's when your body will really start healing. It'll really start healing. Just look at why you've decided to keep the illness. That's a big question. That's a really fucking big question.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, if you're listening to this question and you're feeling anger and you're feeling upset, that's good, because you're about to have a massive breakthrough. So confusion, being angry, any of that, you are on the precipice of having a huge fucking breakthrough. So embrace the anger. If you're shitty with me, I'm cool, I got you, I can hold it, I love you, and that's all good. But keep going. push through that barrier, because that's just the wounded ego going, be fucked if I'm going to listen to some fucking dickhead ginger chick on a podcast, right? Telling me that I've been living with this ailment for 20 fucking years because that's what happens and I can just change it. Guess what? Yes, this ginger chick is telling you can change it 100 fucking percent, because I did. But don't go in the shame of going, fuck, I've been holding on this for 20 years. Don't do that to yourself. Don't keep feeding the ego. Learn to love yourself. Learn to be gentle with yourself. Because this is deep shit that Kel and I are talking about today.
Well, this is huge. Like when I was listening to Brené Brown's TED talk about shame, anytime like I'm teaching something on shame, I just kind of like to reconnect with it because it just sort of helps get me in the zone of like really what we're talking about. And she was saying that like if you're looking at the breeding place of shame is judgment, criticism, and secrecy.
Yep.
And the antidote is empathy and compassion.
Yes.
So that's why, like, if you look at this, if you look at your secondary gain and then shame yourself for it, you're just breeding more of it. You have to look at it and bring empathy and compassion.
I've got a story for you guys. So in 2014 is when I started doing this massive healing journey. And my boys were, 11 or 12, I think, back then. And I took myself off to this retreat, and there was like it was like 4 days where I really started to heal myself. Then I took myself off to the second part of it, and I had this massive realization there. Just some woman was sharing, she had teenage kids, and how controlling I was as a mother. And I thought that's how you were supposed to mother, was to be very controlling. And I came home, and the very first thing I can feel myself getting emotional. The very first thing I did, because we weren't allowed to have our phones with us. And one of the first things I did, I rang Jack, and he was 12, 13 at the time. And I said to him, I've got one thing to tell you. And he goes, what's that? And I said, I love you just the way you are. And that young boy broke down, because he said to me, that's all I've ever wanted you to say to me. And I went, why didn't you feel that? Because I was so fucking controlling. And I wrote Jack 6 pages, and I love it. He's still got it. It's actually just here in front of me. Mm-hmm. I wrote him 6 pages of all the reasons why I love him. So it was, dear Jack, I love you because. It was like, when you did lines at school? It was like that. And it was like, I love you because you're a gamer. This is why. It's because I know you've got passion and purpose, and I know you're clever with, you cognitively. And I just wrote it 6 pages. And when I came home, I embraced the boys. I remember opening up the front door, and literally both boys just sat on me. We were at the front door for about an hour and a half. I didn't even get into the front door. Like, they just sat on me. And it was beautiful. But 3 weeks later, I went into this very deep shame about how I had been controlling for their first 11, 12 years. Mm. And I was in a real pity party because I came home on such a high and I went really low. And it was actually Ben who said to me, Mummy, what's going on? And I went, I just feel so guilty and so much shame around controlling you boys. And, I thought I was such a good mum. And he goes, hang on a minute. This is Ben, right? Mm. He goes, hang on a minute. I went, yes. He goes, don't do that to me. He goes, do you not love me? I went, oh my God, I love you with everything I've got. And he goes, well, if you feel shame around the way you've mothered me in the last 11 years, that means you hold shame around who I am as a person.
Oh, wow. Fuck me.
And I just went, holy shit. He goes, don't do that to me. And I went, fuck me, out of the mouths of babes. And then I just went, oh my God, what am I fucking doing? I mean, I look at my boys. Of course I fucked up. I'm a normal mother. I fuck up today. But you know what? I wouldn't have my kids any other way, because I don't hold shame around being the mother I am. Because if I hold shame around it, I'm missing out on all the opportunities just to have joy, compassion, love, and connection with the kids. You know, and there's one thing. Anytime you start feeling ashamed about who you are, who you've been, fuck it off. Go build yourself a fire, write it down and throw it in the fire. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself, and don't do it to the people around you that love you and who you love. It's not fair. It's not fair. Everybody breathe. Take a deep breath and just know from our hearts to yours, you are fucking magnificent. You're fucking magnificent. And look what you've been through day in, day out, and you're still here and you still love to the capacity that you love. And Kel and I just love you, and we thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening today. Please keep in contact with us. Have a look at us on Inspired Conversations, YouTube. Where else are we? We're on Facebook page,
Spotify, iTunes. We've got a Facebook group, Inspired Conversations. We've got
TikTok page.
Instagram. We've got bloody everything. We're everywhere. But if you just Inspired Conversations with Em and Kel, and you will find us.
And listen, please, we would love your feedback. Have a chat with us. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening.
And please share. Like, we're not a paid show, so the more you share us, the more eyes that get on us. Help us spread the word. Like, help us bring people into love and their best, most delicious life possible. We love you.
We love you. Mwah. Bye.